You're listening to the Vassals of Kingsgrave, Korra edition, for episode 5 of season 2. What the hell is the episode title?
Peacekeepers.
Peacekeepers. I'm Katie.
I'm Michal.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we're at sea without a mean this week again, but that's alright. We will manage without him. So I guess getting straight into it, if I had to give this episode a rating, I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was much better than Civil Wars, which I have no desire to go back and watch, which is a first for me with any Korra episode. But this episode, immediately it was over, I stopped my DVR and rewound it, or replayed it, to sit down and watch it again, so big thumbs up for me.
I have to give it a 5 out of 5. It was just amazing. Like, my girl Lynn came back. Korra was awesome. Makora breakup happened, which I loved. And I loved the ending. I just, like, this is, like, the best episode out of season 2. And I think this is, like, the best episode so far, or second best episode so far, overall, only shy of And the Winner Is. So.
Wow. I wouldn't go that far, but...
Well, I mean, I don't like love the boat scene as much as you do, or the first boat scene, because now we have 2 boat scenes.
Anybody loves the boat scene as much as me.
I liked it. I don't like. There are things that confuse me. I was actually very gratified at seeing things happen. Like, I thought that things really started to. It's funny because, like, you would have expected, like, the last 2 episodes to be all about escalation, but compared to this episode, they really weren't. And this episode was much more like stakes are getting higher and higher continually, and it was good. I need to watch it again. There were some things that made me uncomfortable and some things that made me laugh, and yeah. And Makora definitely broke up, which I literally have zero feelings about at all. Like, it's weird. Like, I'm trying to analyze this, and I'm like, neither way. I do not feel anything, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, like, I don't need to be super invested.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe it's because we all know they're gonna get back together.
Yeah, it's obvious, but I love, like, this is like the kind of Makora dynamic that I love. Them just like really coming into conflict with each other and then just like having fights, but then like they will, like, I know they will have like a reunion and hopefully like make up sex or something, because I'm like pretty sure that they're going to like have like a very heartfelt reunion. But anyway,
I was really glad to see Mako back, actually. Like, I hadn't realized how much I'd enjoyed the character until I saw him, like, do stuff again, have, like, an opinion. And, you know, we really haven't seen that side of him since episode 1, which is whatever, you know, it's fine. But, like, it was nice to see him be like, I got my own thing going on. I have a job. I have other responsibilities. And I wasn't. Well, I guess we could talk about Korra separately, but it was very gratifying to me to see Mako come back into his own and like have a place, even if that place is being made fun of by other people.
Yeah, and I do love that they went back to Republic City. I think that helped the show a lot.
Yeah, it felt like suddenly we were in a place where things mattered again. It's like, can we just forget about whatever happened in the South Pole and stay here?
Yeah, and I like Raiko now, I like how he's like shaping up to be. He really is the like pragmatic leader. He's not being actively malicious. He's just trying to do he's just trying to have all the facts and not interfere and like just not overstep his power. But
see, I had a different take on him. I also thought it was interesting that he wasn't like, I kind of went back and forth because like when he interrupts Korra and he's like, picture, I was like, okay, he's just one of those kind of politicians. And then like he really does listen to her, and like I understand why he doesn't want to send troops to the Southern Water Tribe. And then I was like, okay, maybe he's more reasonable. And then he was kind of manipulating Mako, even though I guess it was within his rights to do so.
Yeah, I like that he doesn't like overreach his power, but he's still not afraid to use his power. I like that.
I thought he was being more cautious than he needed to be. Like when he was like talking to Varric and he was like, "Oh, you know, one of my, you know, strongest supporters. By the way, Varric, brilliant lines in this episode. Amazing. Like when he was like, I donated heavily to his campaign, and also the guy who lost, but you gotta hedge your bets or something.
Yes.
That's brilliant. That was like one of the best lines on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think Raiko's interesting, and I think it will be if we stay in Republic City for any length of time, maybe next season, it will be interesting to see what his deal is.
Yeah.
I actually cringed when he was putting the heat on Mako. It felt like for the first time in a while that we got some genuine character conflict that felt like it had personal stakes rather than plot stakes. And so it's like, oh my god, you know he's going to do it, but at the same time it's killing him to do it. And I was like, we haven't felt that kind of interpersonal conflict in a while, and it was really refreshing to see.
Yeah.
And as far as the breakup goes, I guess, backpedaling a little, I was surprised how upset it made me after I started thinking about it for a while. And I guess because the dialogue was so naturalistic. And I was like, I feel like I've had this conversation with people before in my life. Yeah. But I felt, even though they're inevitably gonna get back together, it felt like a pretty heavy scene. The animation was a step up from the rest of the episode, which means this is where they felt like the emotional gravity was centering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as for the president, not much of an opinion on him right now, other than I thought he was completely within his rights to use Mako as a resource. If Korra and General Iroh, the worst general ever, are going to stage a military coup and try to start a war with the Water Tribe, then yeah, he should be able to, take this rookie cop aside and say, hey, if you want your career to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Iroh and how he's the worst in this episode?
Yeah, he's so off-model.
Okay, animation-wise, yeah, he looks hideous. But also the fact that all Korra needs to do is say, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Maybe if you go on some routine patrols and, fire some torpedoes at a few Water Tribe ships. Oh, absolutely. Avatar, why not?
He's related to Zuko. Of course he's going to be like that.
I did not like it. I was not a fan. I was just, because also, like, last season, Iroh was, like, the older guy who had the responsible, he was more responsible. And then
he's extremely reckless. He punched a bomb in his like, second appearance.
Okay, but that's not in a fight, though,
I wouldn't say, like, he's completely incompetent, but, like, he's not exactly, like, the person I would want as a general. I mean, I'd rather have him than Boomy, but, like...
Yeah, I'm really worried about the United Nations Navy now.
Uh-huh. Also, shouldn't he be an admiral? We only see him on, like, a fucking ship.
Sure, I don't know.
Oh, he is young.
But admiral and general are pretty much the same thing.
No, they're not. Admiral's like, whoa, like top.
Well, no, there are different ranks of admiral. There's like vice admiral, rear admiral, full admiral, fleet admiral.
Whatever. He looked terrible in this episode. His face was floating around.
But I mean, like, he's like, that wasn't that surprising to me because he is like related to Zuko. He doesn't really think things through, and I guess like loyalty to the Avatar must be like.
But he has to think things through. Zuko tripped his way through his experience. Iroh presumably earned some of it.
Plus Zuko is 14 and this guy is 36.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get it. But still, I think like it's not unreasonable that loyalty to the Avatar would be like one of the things he like absolutely grew up.
That's true.
Sure, he trusts that Korra knows what she's doing, and clearly in this episode she's way out of line.
See, okay, here's what would have made it better for me. If he hadn't been like, oh, and if we just happen to get into a skirmish, like, I could see him saying, like, yeah, we'll go down, we'll see what's going on, but, like, I can't promise you that we're gonna engage.
Yeah, she's bribing him to start a war, and he's totally cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It did feel a little too easy, like a way.
Yeah, it did. And also, like, speaking of, like, too easy and too, like, weird, Bolin and Eska just coming out of nowhere to find Korra.
Oh, you mean Desmond
and
Eska?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, how they got from the Southern Water Tribe to Republic City on ski-doos. I don't know.
At least they weren't steampunk jet skis. That.
Poor Ed. I I thought we were finally going to get some range out of her this episode when she came in and she looked so sad in her dad's office, but no, she's still crazy girlfriend mode.
Yeah.
See, okay, what confused me about Eska also was that I don't understand how how does Bolin running away equal to Korra stole her husband? I'm unclear on this connection.
Because Bolin would not willingly leave her side, so someone must have forced him. That's what I would imagine her thought process is.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I get that.
Like, she thinks of him as a pet, so if maybe your dog runs away, it doesn't know any better, but if you know for sure that your dog disappeared on the yacht with the Avatar, then you're gonna think that maybe the Avatar stole your dog.
I love also apparently she was ready to get married, right? And then she was like all ready, all dressed up, and Desna and Unalak are just like, yeah, whatever. Like apparently they weren't involved in these plans at all.
Yeah.
God, the whole thing is so weird. And I wasn't opposed even to like I guess what bothers me is that I was not at all opposed to them being like engaged or whatever because she's just that type. She's gonna do that, especially in this kind of world. But the fact that it was like, okay, we're getting married now, and like she expects this to happen, and I'm like, this is like what? Like, how do you? I don't know.
I doubt we're gonna get it, but I really just want to know what is these kids' deal.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of upbringing did they have that they're just
Okay, well, they had their dead mom, and their dad is just an asshole to them, kind of, sometimes.
He's like a youth minister who never let his children out of the house.
Yeah.
Now they don't understand how the world works.
I actually really dug Desna for some reason.
Because he actually was thinking practically.
Well, yeah, and he was surprised at what was going on, and like, I like his voice too.
Yeah, he has a pretty good voice. I don't think the woman who voices Eska can do the scream that well.
Did she scream?
I swear to God, she screamed or something.
I know that fight at the end was pretty good.
Oh, that was amazing. And I love that Korra got swallowed and just like have this sea monster. It has its markings are really similar to Juan's statue, so that's cool.
I was more impressed with this spirit creature than I have been with any of the others.
Mm-hmm. I still think they should have a bigger variety, but maybe we'll see that in if we go to like the spirit world.
I have to imagine if she got swallowed, that's where she's going. She's going to the light.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Do you want to talk about Varric now, or?
Well, hang on. Just a note about the final scene when Korra was out on the boat and she hit choppy water for the first time when the twins were coming after her. Mm-hmm. For a split second, my first thought was, "Oh my God, she just ran over Tarlok's body."
Yes.
Oh, and then again, my hopes were dashed. But yeah, Varric is totally a villain.
Yes, he is.
And he totally paid the Agni Kais to blow up the cultural center.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's a no-brainer, and I think that has to be what the next episode of that is about. And I think him firing arrows blindfolded is the best visual metaphor there can be for his character.
Yeah.
And it's like interesting that like his kind of manipulation is very different from Unalak's kind of manipulation, but it sort of comes to the same thing where like Asami and Korra are both trapped in his mystique or his like whims or whatever, and they kind of can't break out of it. But there is that like sense of like something's off here, but it's you know what, and this is what I felt with Unalak also, which was that they keep rationalizing, oh, well, it's just one more thing. It's just one business deal. It's just one trip to the South Pole. It's just one whatever. And then I don't even know if they're like actually thinking of it that way, but I am. And, you know, I like that comparison because I think he's bad news.
Well, I think definitely for Asami, but Korra thinks he's completely on his side, or on her side, and then...
Korra responds well to people who agree with her.
Yep.
Yeah. She's also lost her mind in this episode, which really bugged me.
This was the first time where I felt like her behavior was painfully one note.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where there was no reprieve from it. Whenever she's been angry, like especially even in the last episode, she has moments where she's comforting people, or she's sad, or she's conflicted, and in this she knew in her mind, she knew she was right. and nothing could convince her otherwise. And she's coming from obviously a raw emotional place of almost losing her father, and the idea that nobody knows what she, or is willing to believe what she knows, which is that Unalaq is completely a despot and out of his mind, taking the South Pole. And so for her, her frustration, like Michal, we talked about this a little, it's like it's coming from a place of not knowing what her place is, of I'm the Avatar, I'm supposed to be a neutral force, but at the same time I can't be neutral because I'm from Southern Water Tribe and my family is in trouble, and the president doesn't seem to know what to do with me, and I can't control the military, and my boyfriend is betraying me. So I completely get that she's in rage mode, and it's a good place, I think, for her to be before she goes tumbling down the rabbit hole to have her spiritual transformation. But yeah, it is, I didn't have a lot of emotional sympathy for her. I think we were supposed to be more on the side of Mako, who was getting shit actually done.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially because she wasn't like Korra in earlier episodes, like even when she was making bad decisions, rash decisions, whatever, like you had the sense that like she was aware, she was like cognizant of other people's opinions, even if she wasn't taking them into consideration, and more as it went on. But this was just like, no, I'm the Avatar, and I know, and I know, and I know, and like it bothered me that the confrontation with Mako happened in the police station. You know, like it was almost like there were no boundaries at all, and that really annoyed me. And it's great we got Lynn's great line, but like
he destroyed his desk at his work, and then
yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of respect for him when he's just like, no, enough. And just that one word, enough, said a lot to me of like, he's just done. He's so done. He cannot put up with this anymore.
Yeah.
I thought
But
it
I
was.
mean, like, I really sympathize with Mako in this. I mean, but more than like we're supposed to, I think. But by the ones of like we're right. But like this is like the first time in his life that he's ever had like a secure job. It's like the first time in like what, like 10 years he hasn't been like homeless or in danger of being homeless. So like, of course he's going to be so committed to his job.
yeah, no,
And then
it makes total sense, and I liked that like he didn't. I mean, I guess it's not like it takes a rocket scientist to be like, hey, those guys were firebenders. What
yeah.
you know, they're not from the Northern Water Tribe. But it does happen that you know people make stupid assumptions based on what they want to see, and like and see that was also annoying to me that like Cora didn't even try to rationalize it. She was just like they're wrong. He was like they're bending fire, you know,
Yeah.
from the Northern Water Tribe, and she didn't try and like at least find some kind of explanation for it.
Mm-hmm.
How great were those two cops who were giving him the rag?
I love that
Oh,
scene.
I loved it, but like, oh my god, they're such assholes. But like, I loved Lynn's reaction so much.
Yeah, I love the way it was filmed. Like
Oh, absolutely.
that was like spider rat scene from last year.
One of the guys, when Mako's trying to backpedal really quick, like one of the guys like did his hair up like Mako's and like twiddled his thumbs, like it was funny. And then, of course, the evidence of the bombing, or the evidence that he gives the detectives, gets lost in the bureaucracy. It just gets tossed in a drawer.
Yeah.
Did anyone else spot Shady Shin?
Yup.
I was so fucking
I was
excited.
wondering if Mako would flip through it and find his own mugshot in there.
That would be funny.
Like, time to go back to the triad. On the flip side, it's like Mako has all his shit together and he's actually getting stuff done. And then you have Bolin, who was just a child making a porno. Like,
Yes, with his sugar daddy Varric.
he knows what his true calling is.
It's so
Yep.
that outfit made me intensely uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, then actually the Nuktuk of the South. It's actually a reference to the like I think one of the first documentaries ever made called Nanook of the North, which is like it was basically like just a completely
White people dressed up as Inuits.
It wasn't white people dressed up as Inuits, but it was pretty close beyond that. It was just like a bunch of like what white people wanted to see about Inuit culture, not actually.
Oh my
And it
god.
was filmed by a white guy, so.
That's incredible. I'm looking this up now. That's amazing.
Yep.
That's actually an awesome reference from the show. That's great.
Yeah, I first thought that it would be a reference to a certain live action movie, but then I thought, wait, no, Nook sounds really similar to Nanook, so yeah.
Nuktuk.
Catch.
I was
Like-
half expecting it to go to some weird places as soon as they brought Ginger in, whose hair has dyed now, we know.
Yep.
Because that's really important to know.
Well, it's because Varric is very intense about turning a profit, so he's like, "Oh yeah, we got to have some product placement."
No, that's true. I just like
I mean, like, Varric
get
is
annoyed
like, I think everything. Varric, I guess, is everything Reich wants to critique about with ultra billionaires, or
Well, yeah,
but that they didn't have time to do with Hiroshi.
they've dragged Dasami into war profiteering now. She's a gun
Yep.
runner.
Yep.
That was another great line. If you can't make money off of war, you can't make money.
Yeah.
So do you guys think if he's revealed to be the villain, is he, like, is his entire demeanor gonna change and he gonna become, like, the asshole we all know he is, or is he gonna
I
continue to
hope
be
not.
zany?
I hope not. That just beat Hiroshi 2.0 again.
Yeah.
That's true.
We already have Tarlock 2.0, or enough similarities to Tarlock.
Yeah, no, I really want it to be just like, yeah, no, this is just what I'm doing. Like, I'm, making money, and for them to be like, you're starting a war, and him to be like,
And honestly, if he had such a if he keeps his like lackadaisical demeanor, then it'd be just more chilling for me, because then he just won't be so intense, but that just none of the like suffering he's causing is like that he just treats it so flippantly.
But he treats everything flippantly. I mean, the way he had poor Julie stuck in his bear suit with him, probably naked. I mean,
He booped her on the nose.
Yeah.
The poor woman.
Yeah.
I think this was the first episode Korra and Asami have spoken to each other since Turning the Tides.
Special test. Woo!
I don't think they passed though, because they're usually talking about Varric.
Yeah, they were. You're right.
Korra did save her life. She touched her. As the internet noticed.
Yeah, I like that moment actually. It felt very well directed or whatever.
Did anything else happen this episode?
Milo became a Pokemon master?
Yeah. Does anyone want to take a swing at what the overarching metaphor was for training the lemurs?
Okay, I was a little bit surprised because I thought it was going to be Tenzin realizing that his training methods or his idea of training, and obviously, I mean, presumably anyway, the way he trains an animal is different than the way he would train Korra, but I guess maybe understanding that his training methods weren't working for the student that he had, and that would be Korra. Instead, it was that whole like being alpha lemur is hard, and I actually really dug that. I totally was into that revelation, and yeah, it totally worked for me. But then it was like, I don't know if we needed this plot for it, but then again, I'm like, does it matter? Like, whatever, it was harmless. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I loved it, and I kept substituting a trainer for like Pokemon trainer, so that just endlessly amused me. But I do expect some follow up on this for like how he treats Korra. I liked the character moment for like his feelings about more exploration for his feelings about being like the only airbender, or like the dad of the only airbenders, but like I think we need to see more from this too.
Like, I hope that Tenzin's gonna have the revelation that Korra's job really puts her in a hard place that until now he hasn't quite understood. But I also think the only way this could be relevant to the plot is if Unalaq gets skeletonized by a cloud of lemurs. At the end of
I mean, it was cute. I mean, this entire episode was pretty intense in terms of escalation, so we needed a breather. And also now we've had Iki's plot, we've had Milo's plot, now we can get back to Jinora and what she's doing.
Right.
I also sort of am amused by the idea that Milo is like preternaturally good at stuff. Like, crazy good airbender, this crazy good lemur trainer. Like, what else could this kid do?
I know, I just felt like so bad for him though when Pokey had to sleep on the floor. I'm just like,
that was really depressing.
Just because like I have a cat and my cat likes to sleep on my hair, so
they were so sad.
I know, just so depressing. I just love pet relationships, or like relationships with your pets, because I'm a big pet person. But Pokey.
Does anyone think that like next episode everyone's gonna find out that Korra is totally dead?
I wouldn't mind that if it leads to like Mako angsting a little bit.
No,
I would eat that up.
Like, oh no, I drove her to this.
Yes. Just only a little bit. If like a minute is spent on it.
I feel like
maybe getting like reaction shots or something.
I actually want them to be like, no, I guess Korra went off and did something on her own, like a human.
Like I wouldn't mind it if I don't mind it at all if everyone assumes Korra's gone, but like what I love the most is attending your own funeral thing. So I want there to be like a state funeral for Korra, and then she comes back, like she like goes there and she's like, I'm back, bitches. And Mako just like faints and like she catches him.
Like, Mako's one of those people, and I felt it more in this episode, maybe because this is like the first time in forever that he's had anything to do, that like he's really good at compartmentalizing his emotions.
Oh yeah.
In that he's really good at tasks, but interpersonal relationships, it's almost like he doesn't have time for them, or they're not his problem. Like, the way he brushes off Bolin was actually really painful to me. He's like, figure it out, bro, I got a job to do. And then he just leaves Bolin standing there at the dock, looking really useless and sad.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do really just sympathize with him because he needs to make this work.
Well, sure, I mean, it's totally valid, it's just, I feel like he's probably been brushing off Bolin his entire life. Like, even for Public City Hustle, he doesn't quite get, like, he's willing to indulge Bolin about, like, his emotional needs, but it's almost like he just does not get them. Where was Pabu?
Pabu, like, ran into Bolin's shirt at the dock, I think, and, like, that was it.
Was never seen again.
Yeah.
Maybe he's, like, napping on his clothes.
Yeah, they have an apartment, so Pabu's probably in the apartment.
True.
Did anyone else think it was awesome that when Bolin went to the stadium, like, how in love this crowd was with his buzzwords?
Yes.
He's trying to tell him about his personal life, like, sometimes I cry myself to sleep, and nobody gives a shit. It reminded me of that clip from Family Guy where all Lois has to do to get the crowd riled up at her political rally is say 9/11.
Well, it was funny because, well, no, this wasn't funny. It was just, he looked good in that suit. That's all I meant to say.
He looks good on Derek's arm.
Oh no, yeah, he does.
You guys are sick! He's a villain! What does the matter with you?
Slash is not sick, Mihal. It's a natural.
Not Slash, I'm saying Bowling Barrack Slash!
Mihal, I totally wrote that fanfic, and then I felt
God.
really bad about it later.
Wait, was it a Bolin Varric fanfic?
Yes, it was.
Will you thank me, please?
Maybe. I'm kind of dodgy about actually posting it. I don't feel good about exploiting Bolin in such a way.
You can make it private.
I could
on
do
your
that.
blog.
I could do that.
And what was I gonna do or say?
Can we talk about how something
Lynn?
I realized? Oh yeah, we could talk about Lynn. That's a smaller topic than what I was going to bring up.
Wait, what were you going to bring up?
The whole thing about, we were talking about last night, Katie, about how Korra is literally in a no-win situation.
Right. Okay, we'll do that after Lynn.
Okay.
You will, Stephanie.
Yes. Oh, I'm just so happy to have Lynn back. I didn't know how much I knew I missed her, but I didn't know how much until she just stepped right onto the screen.
And she gave Korra such sass.
Yes, and then, oh man, I mean, I love that line, or the idea of the line, like, you should have seen Air Temple Island once Tenzin broke up with me. But, like, I mean, like, I know it was, like, more of, like, a mutual thing, because, like, I guess, like, it makes sense that none of them were, like, happy towards the end of their relationship. But, like, I think it's more like they were, again, milking the crazy ex thing.
Yeah, they really, like, we have 3 violent ex-girlfriends in this episode, or just girlfriends in general. Like Lynn through her little story, and then Eska coming after Korra, and then Korra destroying Mako's desk. And I feel like all the men in these relationships are either blameless or terrified or completely rational, where their girlfriends are just crazy emotional and destructive. Like, Mako is Mr. Stalwart reasonable. Tenzin is really, I don't know how he would have been 30 years ago, but he seems really stainless in the way that relationship turned out. And then Bolin is just, he's an innocent. And then you have the women in their lives who are just completely insane and tearing shit up. And I'm like, I feel the ghost hand of gendered writing passing over me again.
I agree as far as Korra and Bolin go. I think with Lin, and I agree it like comes across that way, and I'm not saying like that's a good thing, but I imagine Tenzin as being this like totally passive aggressive whatever. Like I don't think their breakup, while I'm sure it ultimately was a good thing and blah blah blah. I don't think he probably handled it very well. And I kind of like that Lynn kind of said it with a smile and she was a little bit like it was more nostalgic than like, oh yeah, I was so angry I broke shit up. It was more just like, the emotions of youth, and
Yeah.
that seemed more valid to me than what Korra was doing, which is just like, I'm so angry at you. Actually, Korra was fairly reasonable once they broke up. Or once he
But
was
I mean, like, if Lin, like, apparently tried to arrest Pema,
That's right.
if we are to believe
I don't know,
Tenzin.
like that for me just I again, like, I agree on the surface of it, just the characters for some reason make it like okay for me because I just think it's funny.
Yeah, I just don't know if it was, like, ever intended that Tenzin was passive aggressive. I read, like, in The Winner Is, I read that scene where Tenzin and this, like, have you checked under the stairs and stuff, and Lin's like, leave me alone. I read that as Tenzin being, like, just really condescending and, yeah, a man, like, mansplaining everything. If you don't know what that is, Google it for people listening at home. But, like, just being just so patronizing, and then she's just like, ugh.
Not being able to put up with it.
Yeah, but I don't know if Frike ever intended it that way, so.
I don't know, Amin even noticed it in that email,
Yeah.
and he's like, what's with the crazy girlfriend trope that's popping up? And
Yeah.
I feel like, again, it irritates me, but it's only because I'm feeling it heavily for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a lot about that last week, but Mihal, what were we gonna? Oh, Korra being in a no-win situation. Go.
Yeah. So it was really interesting to me, and this is something we like touched on last year about how what Korra's role is in the modern world, and like I got that sense like overwhelmingly in her scene with Raiko because it was like he was like listening very politely because like it was like meeting with the Pope, like the president meeting with the Pope and the Pope making demands or something, and just in terms of like a religious figure who has a lot of significance but not a lot of power, but obviously Korra thinks she should have power and there's indications that she should do that. Like she's in such a weird position that she's the most powerful bender in the world, hugely important to the fundamental function of the physical and spiritual worlds, right? Like that's really important. And in the past that's meant that her status has given her a lot of political power, but now it's like no, people are like no, we got this political thing. And like I got this sense from Raiko that he was really like, who are you and why are you telling me how to do my job? It was like
Yeah.
like he was someone who's actually been elected by a allegedly anyway modern fair election, and then there's Korra who comes along and is like, I have the spirit of the Avatar in me, let me make decisions. And from both sides she has yes and no on that, and I don't envy her. She's in a really tough position because she has no one to tell her what. Nobody knows what she's supposed to do. This is a brand new situation.
I feel like part of it might be her age, just because she is still a teenager. But I think about Roku, and Roku was a lot older, but Roku storming into Sozin's office and beating the shit out of him, or Kyoshi confronting the Earth King in that little Flash comic online. And like I can't imagine Korra being allowed to go into Raiko's office, go Avatar state, and say, "Listen, you're gonna do what I say, or you're gonna have your power taken away from you." I can't imagine her doing that. I would think she'd be arrested at the least.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the kind of the modern world that they are, where it's like the Avatar is still a status symbol and it's still revered in some corners. Like I think we see that a little in Iroh and the implication that she should go to the Fire Nation. But otherwise, no one seems to know what she's supposed to do or what she can legally do.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's like, do it my way, do it my way, do it my way, and everybody's right, but they're also wrong. And that's really why she's in this jam in the first place. Because if she'd had a little more clear direction, not in terms of people like telling her what to do, but more just like telling her how she should go about it, or helping her realize anyway. It would have just been a much different situation. I think maybe part of the reason why this season has I don't know, because obviously we don't know where it's going yet, but I wonder if this had been more of an issue of of how Korra fits into the power structure in Republic City, and therefore in the world at large, if it might have been slightly more successful, but I don't know, maybe not.
Maybe if the first 4 episodes didn't feel like they belonged in a crate in a corner.
Yeah.
Now that we're... And I, like, don't get me wrong, I actually really liked the first episode. I was meh on the second. There's a lot of good things in Civil Wars, but I feel like now that we're away from the Southern Water Tribe and Unalaq, it really feels like it could have been condensed. And we could have gotten back to this point sooner. Or, just a clear indication of what's at stake. With the Northern Portal, which apparently Unalaq does need her for.
Yeah.
Because as of now, even though I really like this episode and I feel like it's like we're back on rails, it really still feels muddy as to where or what we're supposed to be driving for. And we're not even halfway through the season, so I'll pardon that. Like, if we get past the flashback episode and we still don't know what the hell is going on, I'm gonna be really concerned.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't know. I think someone on the forum mentioned that Asami was getting like forgotten. I mean, I don't know. I think first of all, this is the Legend of Korra, and it is a smaller series, so they don't have time to focus on everybody to the extent that ATLA did, and even an ATLA out of the gang, Toph did get
shafted.
Yeah, more often than not. And just like, if that was the case within like 61 episodes for like a season that is supposed to tell like about the same story as a book of ATLA, as long as the focus is completely on Korra for the overwhelming majority of everything, I do not care.
I mean, the dynamics and the situations are completely different because the gang had to stay together.
Yeah.
Like, they were fugitives on the run, whereas the crew, they're teenagers, they're fairly stable, they all have jobs, and so there's an excuse when Korra needs to go do something and she can't reasonably bring her friends along. It's like, okay, well, Mako is doing paperwork, and Asami is at the office, and Bolin is, masturbating in a corner or something. His destiny unrealized.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's different from like Bolin having no screen time in last season. I think it feels different, or just like being the person who just is there to have the funny thing to say.
Right.
And Asami had a lot of had a big role in the last season. She was like,
she certainly had a bigger role than what she's been given currently.
I mean, I love Asami, and the more we see of her, the better, but I get that it's not... The reason she was involved in the group was because she was Mako's girlfriend, and then it was because they were fighting the Equalists, and she was involved in that, and like now, like, it's true, it's like they're still friends, but, and I feel a tiny bit... I have a little sympathy for the creators in this way, because like they created a really interesting character, but like she doesn't necessarily fit so easily into the story, and I get that. I'd rather have that problem than her sticking around and being a total drag,
Right. There's part of me that wishes we had more crew hangout time, like, all together, instead of feeling like people just running into each other at random, like, oh, fancy meeting you here, Asami. I haven't talked to you in a season.
Yeah.
Have we had any screen time together? No. Good, let's do this.
Yeah. I'm still a little sad about that. Like, don't try to tell me they're best friends. They don't.
Yeah, I'm not impressed, but honestly, like, yeah.
Are they trying to make them, like...
I think that was, like, one of the... I forget whose, Tumblr blog it was. They posted an art... This was last year, but they posted an art of, Korra and Asami on mopeds or something, and they're like...
Oh, I saw that.
Like, best friends hanging out. I was like, I don't know.
Like, Korra and, like, Asami like each other, but I don't think I just think their personalities are just a little too different to be, like, super best friends.
Yeah, exactly.
If they had a common...
And their interests are different, or like they have common interests, but at the same time they'd only like do those interests together and not really do much else.
No, I could totally buy them being best friends if the plot threw them together in any way. And that was the problem last season, was that there was no Korra Asami, like, outside the race at Asami's house, there was no Korra Asami connection. There was a Korra Mako Asami connection, but there was no there was always Mako in between them.
Yeah.
Just that,
but
like, Asami had been like, oh yeah, I need to go to the Fire Nation too, and then, like, gotten caught up in that and was in the spirit world with Korra or whatever she is.
That's a great idea.
I don't know. I just
said that.
I don't really see them being better friends even if they had met under different circumstances. But
No, but we don't get the sense that they've been through anything together.
Yeah.
So while they like each other, there isn't even a bond of that much even shared experience, because their experience of this Amon situation was so different. You know,
Yeah.
they didn't even fight together in the end.
It's like, I know like Asami and Bolin went through stuff together, so like it was a very good like call to have like Asami have Bolin go with her to meet Varric.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
But like, and I don't really get that much of a Korra Bolin friendship either, and I'm like, I don't care about that. Like,
I get it. I mean, he's funny. He's fun to have around.
I think they had good chemistry in the first, like, and I'm not even saying that from a shipping standpoint, but just like they seemed like kindred spirits, and it's just that Bolin is flat. He's a flat character.
Yeah.
He has no direction this season. Like last season, he knew what he was doing at least. This season, it's like, I'll go with Eska or Varric or, you know, and he's just kind of being pushed around by these powerful forces, and it's a little bit like, come on, Bolin, you're an earthbender. Dig in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it might be a side effect of Bolin being like a recycled idea, because back when ATLA was in pre-production, they had this idea for Toph to be a guy that had a personality like Bolin, but then Toph came along, so they just moved that prototype character to like the back burner, and then they said that they had a bunch of ideas about this kind of character, so they wanted to put him into LOK. But
it really feels like they don't know what to do with him in that, okay, now we need some comedy in this episode, so let's make a space for Bolin doing some zany things, but otherwise he's just kind of pathetic now.
I mean, I greatly prefer his stuff in this book compared to the stuff he did last season.
Yeah. We're all anxiously awaiting his pathos and his pain to come out in his character, and it just never happened.
I mean, I'm still giving it time, because Mako's still, I mean, there's still, the stuff is still happening, like the whole, like, where's Mako when I need him? That's still, like, I think there's still build up there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the problem is? The problem is none of these people have education. Okay, if they were in school, then this would be much easier. They'd have structure, they'd have something to do with their lives. Like, Bolin's what, like 16? And he's just like, oh, I guess I better find something to do, you know?
Yeah.
There's no indication that...
By the budding pornography industry.
I was telling Mihal he's the Dirk Diggler of his time. But she hasn't seen Boogie Nights.
I read the Wikipedia entry.
And then, yeah, so, I mean, yeah, I do kind of feel like this is, like, that that character that they really wanted, but actually, like, isn't a good idea, so they just, like, stuck him in there and found him something to do, because they really wanted to put him in there.
Maybe, and I'm, it's totally me reading into the creators or whatever, that, like, when they created LOK, it was more, well, this seems like a neat idea, throw it in there, and without, I guess, planning for an emotional arc in some way. And I felt kind of the same about Mako in the first season, where it's like, finally, now he's getting some agency, whereas before, like, the brothers just did not do anything in the first season. After the pro-bending went down, they were kind of just hangers-on.
So you call giving Amon a lightning facial doing nothing?
Okay, well, he came through in the last episode, but really, like, after episode 6, what did Mako and Bolin do? They got arrested. And that was it, and they broke out.
Well, Mako was having his whole, like, crisis of who he liked, and, like, made him kind of unfortunate.
Not only that, but, like, trying to find, like, a father figure with Hiroshi, and then just, like, having that...
That's right, I forgot about that. But that was such,
be ripped away from him.
That was such a moment. That was immediately forgotten.
Yeah. I can see how you can think that, but, I mean, I like Mako a lot, so I just.
I like Mako a lot too. I think we felt this and talked about this last season, where it felt like of all the characters, Mako and Bolin were given the least to do.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about because
usually that's the girls.
Well, not just like in a gendered way, but like when Korra was coming out, and it's like, okay, it's gonna be a new trio, and it's gonna be Korra and Mako Bolin, and they're gonna be best friends. They were doing stuff, and it's like, no, it's not the same dynamic, which is perfectly fine. It's just sometimes I think it can leave some characters feeling like atrophied limbs.
Well, blame the marketing then, because they had all this like concept art with like. I mean, like, because like all this promotional art had like Korra, Mako, Bolin, and Tenzin. So just like, I get it, like Earth, Fire, Air, Water, but like, yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that sometimes in an episode you can realize, never mind.
Whatever. I like the new dynamics most of all, or mostly because I mean, like, I like exploring the idea of everyone's more loosely connected and is off doing their own thing for the most part, or as opposed to just traveling together and
no, I'm glad
all
that
the
they're
time.
not like constantly riding or driving around in Asami's car, but I would like occasionally some hanging out.
Yeah,
I miss that.
I do, but it's not. I guess it's not as high as on my priority list as it might be on yours.
Right. I just want somebody to go swing dancing.
Yes.
That's too much to ask. Oh.
So New York Comic Con is this week.
And Brian's gonna be there, or Michael.
Yeah.
And you're not going?
I'm going to New York Comic Con. I'm not gonna be there that day.
I can't imagine he'll have anything revelatory to say.
No, I know. It's probably not going to be anything. I mean, they're showing a new episode, but, like, it's not the same as Comic-Con, because, like, okay, we'll get it in a couple weeks, as opposed to we're getting it maybe in a month and a half, but, I'd still like to be there, but oh well. Oh well.
I'm gonna miss this week's episode, which makes me really sad, because from the episode description, this is the episode I wanted to see. This is the one I've been waiting for.
Oh, don't tell me.
Okay.
Wait, do you know something about this episode, Katie?
No, I just don't want to know the description.
Oh. Well, the title is The Sting.
Well, I know that, but like anything beyond that.
Has there been a description? At least we know we're not changing to Nicktoons.
Oh yeah, and we're actually in prime time now. As if that meant anything on Nickelodeon.
Spoiler alert. Anyway, I think I gotta go.
All right, I think I have to go too. As soon as I stretch. Oh. Okay. It was nice chatting.
Yep.
You too.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye, guys.